Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the DATEABLE podcast where we are full and we are ready to tackle the rest of the year now that we're done with Thanksgiving. This is where all the holiday shit starts happening, right? This is the beginning of it all. And it's also the beginning of cuffing season.
Oh,
and
yes.
We are here to help you through cuffing season. Consider us your Sherpas through all the cuffing that's about to happen. Relationships, they begin and they end around the holidays. We know because we've both been there. And that is our mission with the DATEABLE podcast, is get to the bottom of these behaviors and patterns that we see. And so we can be better equipped for when things happen.
Mm-hmm. And we are so excited about our episode today. We are talking about what it means to have a healthy relationship. And we're super pumped that we have Connor Beaton back. He was a fan favorite from season 12, episode 1, Socially Distant Yet Emotionally Available, one of our top rated episodes, I believe. And we are lucky to have him joined by his wife, Vienna Farron, who is a very popular marriage and family therapist of mindful MFT. So we're super excited to have both of them together. And I think this concept of healthy relationship is something that's tossed around a lot. We've definitely said that before, because I think a big part of DATEABLE is that we want to create the relationships that work for us ultimately. And a lot of us don't want to repeat our family, our parents' relationship potentially, divorces that have happened. I think we're all kind of out there to have a healthy relationship. That's a term that gets maybe as buzzed as emotionally available. I don't know. They're probably neck and neck, those two.
It's also kind of like saying, I'm looking for a nice person to date. It's the status quo. You should be wanting a healthy relationship. And if you do have a healthy relationship, it shouldn't feel like you're a unicorn. Because that should be what all of us are in, is a healthy relationship. But why is it so hard to identify what a healthy relationship is, for example, some of us didn't grow up with great examples of what a good relationship is. You don't understand what healthy even means. For me, I had no idea what love even meant, because that was never a word that was used in my family. And so when you have to relearn all of this from the beginning, it's a really scary thing. It's also very exciting because it means you get to carve out what it means to have a healthy relationship for you specifically.
Yeah. I mean, I think modern dating is extremely dysfunctional also. So I think you do...
Thank you, modern dating. Without you, there wouldn't be us.
But I think that's why when you do, there's this, your sight is set on a healthy relationship. So you can get out of the dysfunction of ghosting and, dating apps and all the stuff that you contribute to that dysfunctional relationship.
Yeah. I would argue that every healthy relationship has dysfunction in it. Does not mean that healthy relationships are free of dysfunction. It just means healthy relationships know how to evolve out of the dysfunction and conflicts.
Yeah, so I'm going to give our listeners a little behind the scenes into how we work. But Yue and I always create an outline for our episodes. But that being said, if the convo is going in a different direction and it's working and we think it's good material, we'll keep it going. So I think for this episode particularly, we had our long list of things that we wanted to cover and what a healthy relationship means. I don't even think we even talked about communication that much. I think that's a given, but it wasn't a topic when it's within itself. It obviously came through just because it always does. But we talk so much about conflict in this episode. And more, that's kind of reminded me of what you just said. There's always going to be some dysfunction, but how do you get through it? And they said something that has sat with me for the last 2 weeks since we recorded this, of just, how can you look for someone that you can do conflict with? And that is never something that is on anyone's list of things in a partnership. And there is almost an irony of just how much time we spend talking about conflict when we're talking about healthy relationships. Yeah. But I think it does come back to what you were just saying of, there's inevitably going to be miscommunications and, some aspects that aren't always smooth sailing because it's two people merging together that have years and years of upbringings that vary dramatically.
Think about this behavior for a sec, because I know so many of you have done this. I have. Is you have a problem with your partner, and the first thing you do is complain about it to your friends, right?
Yes.
You go to brunch and you're like, I can't believe he did this. Am I right for saying this? Why is your first reaction not to go to your partner? I never understood that with myself. And I get the same way, at work, I get into conflicts with my coworkers, and the first thing I want to do is complain about the coworker with someone else or like go to HR. But why can't I address it head on with the person? I think it's just that we're so afraid to rock the boat, but at the same time, it's never a good look when you complain about your partner to your friends and then you stay with your partner and then you expect them to take your partner's side, later on. It never works.
So I had a really interesting revelation last week. And I think for a long time, I was after my last relationship, one of the top things for me was someone that is emotionally healthy. Mm-hmm. That was a word that I used a lot. And I think for me, my last partner had, depression that he was dealing with. So I think for me, I was like, I don't want someone that's facing mental health issues or challenges. Mm-hmm. And I think what I've learned in the last year plus, I think mental health has been even more front and center than ever before with COVID and everything that's been going on in the last couple years. And even through our community, for instance, how openly we talk about mental health and how we've done episodes about mental health since then, I think everyone is dealing with something. I think the idea that someone is 100% healthy, quote unquote, mentally, that doesn't even make sense. It's almost like there's a judgment in it too. Mm-hmm. It's like when you see someone that may be a little overweight and you say that they're unhealthy. You don't know that. That's just a perception that's being made. I think that we just this idea that we're all perfect and we have everything figured out and we can't enter a relationship till we have all our shit worked through. I think it's a complete illusion. I don't think that exists. And I think I was expecting maybe even on this conversation with Vienna and Connor to be like, yeah, you need to be all healed and good to go. And they basically said the exact opposite. Your relationships are a healer for you. Of course, this is on a spectrum. If you're really not in a good place, then maybe it's not the right time to date. But I do think that we can't expect to be 100% healed or 100% quote unquote healthy, whatever that even means. And I don't think that should prevent us from being with someone, because you really just need to find someone that appreciates your imperfections and embraces them, because we all have them.
So is that your revelation in relations to your previous relationship versus now?
I think the revelation was maybe that wasn't the actual issue of my last relationship. I think the actual issue was that the commitment wasn't there. I think ultimately in communication wasn't there. I think the stuff or the ability to deal with conflict, I think the stuff that we talk about in this episode is that there's always going to be ups and downs. You also can't predict life. Even if someone is in a good place right this minute, what happens when a parent passes away or they lose a job? There's no predicting fully how someone's going to deal with every situation. I think we also can't expect people to just be all buttoned up and pretend like nothing happened.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think it could be also a great excuse to say this person wasn't emotionally healthy and so therefore the relationship didn't work out. But as we've learned also in our Finding Your Person program, is people break up not because the feelings are gone, not because the connection's gone or the chemistry's gone. It's because someone stopped trying. Mm-hmm. And when one person of the two stops trying and loses that commitment, it's not going to work. That's just the end of it. No matter where you are in your mental health, it's just one person stops trying. Just doesn't work.
Right.
So I I think it's having a partner, like, Logan has said in her interview with us, she and her husband started dating and they just never stopped. And I think that's what a healthy relationship is. You just never stop trying.
Right. Someone that will hold your purse. That was her statement.
Yes.
And I think that one has stayed with me. It's like, someone that's just there for you unconditionally. And, someone that you can be yourself around, someone that you can have the difficult conversations with and they don't feel like conflict is coming out, or even if there is conflict, not being afraid of it and just being able to deal with it head on. And, there's, I looked at this is like a cheesy article, but like the 3 C's of a healthy relationship.
Oh, boy.
And, it was communication, commitment, and
conflict resolution?
No, it wasn't conflict resolution, although that should be the 4th C. Compromise was the last one. And compromise is an interesting word, I think. But I do see you have to take 2 people into account. I think that's what it ultimately means. It doesn't mean that you're always sacrificing your own needs, but it means that you're thinking about both of you as a collective unit and not just your needs only.
Right. Yes. So this last week for Thanksgiving, we had a lot of DATEABLE community members meet up with each other.
Nice.
Specifically in LA. And I was able to meet up with 2 of those, two of those members, Brian and Eric, for a few margaritas. I was the one drinking margaritas.
That's where all the revelations happen.
But I want to just really point out something that Brian said in our conversation, because of course, we're going to be talking about dating. And it's the same thing we're talking about right now, Julie. It's like ultimately what matters is you want to do life with someone and you want someone to be by your side. So he told me that after each date, he does journaling. And his journaling starts with, let's get all the emotions out, all the feelings. Why are you excited? Why did you like this person? Without any judgment, just write it all down. And then he takes a few minutes and he looks back and then he asks himself, would you want to see this person again and why? And then he would kind of compare the 2 different answers. One is like all emotions, and the other one is really like sitting back and thinking, could I do life with this person? And sometimes you can see a huge difference in those dates where maybe you see that you're really excited about someone because of their occupation, because of the way they look, because of these factors that don't really fucking matter later in life. And then if you were to ask again, would you want to see this person again and why? If the reasons are because I really feel like we are connected to each other, I feel like there's mutual respect, I feel like we could create something together. Those are answers, that lead you into that future potential. But if the answers are like, this person's hot, we got drunk and had a good time, it was fun. I mean, that's cool. That's great. But if you're looking for that partner, does it actually lead you to that purpose?
I love that. The only devil's advocate I'd play on that is how much do you know after one date? Are you going to discount people that maybe you don't see that side? I still think the first date really is to see if you can have fun with someone and to even like them on some level. I do agree though with this statement of if it's all fun and there's no, future potentially, then maybe it's important to check in. I think this exercise would be ideal after the 3rd date, but that's just my only caveat to it.
I think it's good to do it after every date.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So you don't get so wrapped up in your feelings. And something that he discovered was he was really wrapped up in what someone represented, the idea of someone versus who they actually were. So this exercise helped him separate the 2.
I think that's an important caveat too. I think so much of this, it's hard to give blanket advice to the masses because we've talked about this before. We have a cohort of people that gives people so many tries over and over again. And then there's another cohort that won't give anyone. They'll be like, oh, you're not 6 feet. I'm done. I'm not doing this. So I think so much of it is knowing yourself and where you kind of swing on the spectrum. Again, everything is on a spectrum. If you're the type of person that sees yourself getting wrapped up in superficial qualities, then I think this is a great exercise to do. If you're the type of person that knows that you might need to give people more of a chance, then like maybe that's that you can take that into account also.
For sure. How was your Thanksgiving, Julie?
It was great. It was really fun. I think we had way too much to drink, as my friend had warned me about. So the caveat I had going, I went to my friend's parents' house in Sausalito, which is north of San Francisco for anyone outside the area. Her one caveat was, we're going to get drunk. Like that was the caveat going in. And Friday, we did a whole lot of nothing because of that, but it was super fun.
There you go.
They were super sweet. They had my boyfriend come too, and he ended up being the star of the show because he helped with so much food, and they said they couldn't have done Thanksgiving without him. So,
oh, hey, brownie points right there.
I do. I think the best part of it too was that I was with my friend's family. So I got to hear all, like everyone's like always afraid of the crap their family is going to give us. This was the best. She might kill me for saying this on air, but I'll do it anyways. And at one point it was just me and her parents. Like everyone else was doing something else, like prepping or something. And her mom turns to me and she's like, how did you meet your boyfriend? And because she loved him at this point because he was helping with all the stuff. And I said a dating app. And she's like, why can't my friend meet someone on a dating app? And she's like, I know the reason. It's because she writes about her cat in her dating profile. Like, what is she thinking? And then she came back and she just like proceeded to give her shit about the fact that she writes about her cat in her dating profile. And my friend's like, I took that out years ago. She's like, I don't have a problem talking to people. That's not my problem.
Hey,
it was great. It was great.
Parents always think that they have a reason for why their kid is single.
She knew that the secret was the cat. That was what was holding her back. She's still convinced on that, whether it's in the profile or not. It was great, though.
I'm going to side with the mom at this point. I don't think it has anything to do with the cat. It's just that your profile shouldn't be about anybody but you. So it could be about a fucking squirrel. I don't care. Don't talk about these things. It should be about you.
So
yes,
that was
Mom,
entertaining.
You're right.
I loved it. The best was when you were there and you were experiencing it, but it wasn't directed at you. That was the best. I highly recommend going to a friend's family's house for Thanksgiving.
But isn't it sexy to see how I guess sexy is not really the term sometimes, but to see how your partner is during the holidays. And I think like around your friends or even your friend's family or like a Friendsgiving, to see how helpful they can be, to see how social they can be. I think that's one of the first times I really started falling in love with my partner was at the Friendsgiving that we went to. And he was cleaning up dog poop the entire time because there were 9 fucking dogs at this house party. And the whole time he's just like, hey, nice to meet you. I am cleaning up some shit
I
right now.
remember that.
And I just kept thinking like, that sucks, but also I'm starting to love you because you're being very helpful right now.
No, I think the helpful trait is a real legit quality. My boyfriend is super helpful, and we had a Hanukkah party, and he was in there cooking with me and doing it. We got up super early to cook. It was, it's definitely something that makes you fall for someone a bit more.
Yes.
How was your Thanksgiving, Yue?
It was great. My mom cooked a goose. We did not go the turkey route, and my partner and I we were responsible for all the sides, and they all turned out very well. I did get a little bit of food poisoning during the day, not from the food we made, just from the food we had earlier in the day. So I was bedridden for about 4 hours into the evening. So my boyfriend was in the kitchen with my mom cooking, and then I got immediately better after some medication, and then we started cooking again. So other than that little snafu, I definitely was. It was a really nice, just relaxing Thanksgiving. There was very little drinking. We
Yeah.
did not get nearly as drunk as you did, but we made up for it the next day.
Did he get the full court press, or was
No
under
more.
control? Okay.
You know what? I mean, long story short, I don't need to go into it, but my parents have been basically living with us for the last few weeks, and it's been really nice, actually. I feel like we're getting along. We're, in my little 2-bedroom apartment with 2 dogs and 4 adults. And we're taking turns with chores. We're going to bed really early because my parents are on AARP time. We eat by 6 and we're in bed by 9. It's fantastic. So no more of these like hard conversations, because I think we're just like living as a family at this point. Yeah.
They see it. That's good. That's good. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what you needed.
Proof is in the pudding, right? Like,
Exactly.
why ask him if he's committed when he can just show you that he is completely committed? So I think they're pretty convinced at this point.
Good. Good. There you go.